Want to know what scientists are doing when they're not dissecting movies with me and answering all of my stupid questions? Well, from Charles Rivers' Eureka blog comes a new podcast called Sounds of Science. Just like Bad Science, they talk to experts at the forefront of their fields. So get the inside scoop on what they're working on and how they're using unique methods to solve scientific challenges. Go ahead and listen to Sounds of Science on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Yoda, are you in there?
Tired now. Must rest.
Well, I just came. It's so long to get here. It's like it's a big pain. Do you think we could talk a little while?
After my nap.
How long are you gonna nap?
Well, it's kind of a metaphor it is, so for all time?
No, Yoda, you can't die.
Die I must.
I need you.
No, you need... Let me rest.
Yoda, you got a cell phone alert.
Last minute bills from Apple. Persistent they are.
Yoda, I have a question I have to ask you.
Ask if you must.
Is Darth Vader my father?
Oh, fuck. Very tired. Must go to sleep. Okay, goodbye.
No, Yoda, come on. Don't be like that. I need to know.
Your father he is.
I knew it.
Unfortunate this is. Hoping to die before this awkward conversation, wherein it's clear. Lied to you I have since beginning of our relationship.
Yeah, that is pretty weird.
Okay for nap now?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Toodaloo.
Toodaloo's gonna be your last words?
Plan it was till you made me, clarify.
All right, anything you want. Your last words, and then you can pass away.
Mommy, what is it, dear? I want a Salerno butter cookie. I always love it at the commercial.
All right, die.
Ah!
Bad science. Did the movie get it right? Bad science. Or will we have to fight? Bad science.
Welcome to Bad Science, everybody. It's another episode. I'm your host, Ethan Edinburgh, and today we are talking about Return of the Jedi. It's the third installment in the Star Wars trilogy. Star Wars movie franchise? How would you say?
Well, now it's a franchise, but it was originally just for us. It was the third movie. Oh my God!
And why did you say episode 6? I'm sure we're going to solve all of that.
Oh yeah,
that's not even. Don't even worry about that.
I'm going to let you guys handle the counting of the episodes. I'm not going to even get into it.
I won't even talk about the slanted opening, because that stuff. How did they do it?
How do they do it?
Very well.
Movie magic.
Yes.
Here, let me introduce my guests. They're here joining me for the third time on the podcast.
Very honored, very honored.
I'm very honored that you would grace us with your presence 3 times. Astronomer at JPL, Dr. Barujan Gorgian.
Well, thank you. Very happy to be here. And again, very honored to be asked back.
Yeah, no, of course. We love having you, as I'm sure the fans do, and all the people downstairs when you walk by. Give you high fives, probably.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Were there high fives today?
Yes, it was just one after another. I had to use both hands.
It was like a friggin' parade.
People think. They don't think, but they love science, and if someone knows about science, they think, oh, this person may save us.
Yeah, it's like a superhero.
Yeah.
Well,
you're a superhero in this office.
In this office. Okay, yes,
Yeah.
I'll take that.
And of course, we're here with legendary comedian.
Why would you say of course?
And of course, I always say that as if you're here every week.
Well, let's say the way you say of course and legendary, you know what that means? Old. That's what they mean.
No, that's not what that means. I say it for anybody.
Some people still didn't believe he's still working. This guy.
It's Andy Kindler, everybody.
Thank you. I always think there's going to be some applause.
Yeah, there should be.
I hate it when it's from the people in the studio.
Well, how else can I possibly do it? I need like a soundboard.
You know, I got one person to laugh at Tom Snyder.
Oh, that's a way back joke there. Oh my God.
You're going right back to the middle of my stuff. That's like almost current for me.
Almost current Tom Snyder reference. I mean, should I bring like a boombox next time and have like applause?
No.
Electric?
No, I have ADHD and OCD. I already forgot the bit I was doing.
Yeah, there is no more bits.
So you don't want the Tom Snyder?
That actually sounds like what's his name from this movie?
Jabba the Hutt, yeah.
Yeah, I know I was very excited because I guessed the names of most of the actors.
You guessed the names? What does that mean?
Well, I know Alec Guinness. I haven't seen this movie in a long time. You don't walk around going, "Oh, Sir Alec Guinness."
Oh, right, okay.
And
Gotcha.
it took me an hour to find out it was Lawrence Harvey, and then I still didn't know.
Even after you guessed it,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, Return of the Jedi. I hadn't seen it for many years, but I did see it when I was little. I'm going to save my opinion on it for after you guys share yours, just in case I don't want to, I don't know, taint it. So what do you guys think? Who wants to go first? Give me your thoughts. You can give me your like all Star Wars thoughts or just Return of the Jedi thoughts. Up to you guys.
I'll go quickly because I'm not a very smart man and I'm not articulate. I don't bring a lot to the table. And I complain afterwards about what was on the table.
Ladies.
I'd seen Star Wars in the theater. See, some of these movies, you kids are too... I'm the oldest person here, but let's not get further into it than that. But I saw these movies... so I saw Star Wars in the theater. This one I don't remember. This one I was like, have I seen this movie? But then I remember when you see a scene like like where a plane goes around a tree, and then I've seen that. That's a classic. And plus, I'm no scientist, but that's actually the way that actual bomb works. It always wrapped itself around the thing. So first of all, I did enjoy the movie. I sound like a teenage book talk, which I used to do when I was a kid. I did like the movie. But I didn't. But I forget about whether I love the movie. I didn't. I think maybe I'm like an old Jewish man now. It's like, what are they saying? Why are they? What's going on?
Yeah.
And I love the spirit behind it, but I still think I started to build a case against George Lucas, in the sense that he has to have borrowed all of these storylines, right?
He's admitted it. I mean, he was trying to bring back the serials from the 40s and 50s,
right.
Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, as well as the westerns and so on. So he's completely said that he just wanted to update it for a new audience. So
but
in that
shouldn't
sense,
he disguise it somewhat, or throw me a bone?
Okay, maybe he didn't disguise it enough.
There you go.
No, I don't. You know what it is? I think he's got a very simplistic almost view. The things that's great about him aren't in his words. They're they're in the motions and everything. Because I could when I see that Yoda,
Yoda,
I could cry
every
time
God.
I see that. That's the cutest man.
Not enough Yoda in this movie.
For sure.
Very little Yoda. Yeah. And he just basically claims like, well, I'm about to die.
Yeah.
And then dies.
Yeah.
And Jabba, that guy is clean up his act.
Yeah.
Jabba, he's
on
like
the treadmill, my friend.
Talk about Jabba the Hutt. Is that who it was?
Yep, that's the guy.
That's him.
Yeah.
He,
that's the slug.
as advertised.
Yeah.
Big
could have used one less slimy tongue
moment.
Yeah, I read, by the way, just a quick fun fact that to get that sound of Jabba the Hutt, like moving or doing something with his mouth, they ran their hand through cheese casserole. I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
I am glad, though, this was back in the days, and as a scientist, I know your way in on this. This was back in the days where they still had the fluorescent sabers. You know what I mean? They hadn't gone. They had not gone to the LEDs yet.
Right.
So I was wondering if they're the new phaser, the new not phasers,
Wrong franchise.
Yeah, lightsabers.
Lightsabers.
I would imagine if they're more energy efficient.
Okay, so wait, let me just ask you this, I guess more specifically. Is this your favorite of the original three?
No, because I think Star Wars was my favorite, because when Star Wars came out, you have to put yourself back in someone my age, going to a theater. We tied up our horse to a thing. My only knowledge of air travel was when I would make these little planes myself. And this little trick, you put a little, and maybe you'll tell me why this is so brilliant, put a little toothpaste on the end of your paper plane.
Oh.
It goes fast, and then it dives, and you still learn nothing. So it was very impressive. So I still like the first one the best.
Okay. Empire Strikes Back, I think, was the second one.
I think I would say The Empire Strikes Back second, and this one I would say third, but almost sixth.
Almost sixth?
It almost matches its episode number.
Ooh, okay.
Wait, but are you saying
I'm only
the
kidding.
newer
It's
ones?
very nice.
Okay.
Very nice. No, no ones I refuse to see because the kids tell me don't see it.
Yeah.
I saw that movie
Probably
where
for
everyone
the
hates
best.
him.
Everyone hates
George
him?
Lucas movie. It's a documentary.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, it's hilarious.
I've seen the ads for it, but I haven't
Everyone
seen the
hates
movie yet.
George Lucas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's like a new.
Well, it was just this idea of, with the prequels and everything, and people, love George Lucas, and then suddenly they hate George Lucas, and they're trying to interview, sort of this attitude change of, what people thought
What
about.
happened.
What happened with, what's the connection also between you, whatever you like, and the person who created whatever you liked, and then when
sure.
they move on, do they create something that then you don't like? What does that mean? So,
And he couldn't move on because here's the thing I'll say to wrap up my section of the show because I haven't done. No, I'm kidding. Is that there were sometimes when I was delightfully involved in the world of the outer space.
Yeah.
And then there were other times I was like, that looks like a horrible cartoon.
Yeah.
So now I know why he wanted to go back. But he should never have gone back.
Right.
The charm of the movie, he just ruined. That's why I would
Yeah.
never see any new ones.
I got you. That makes sense. All right.
So,
Sean.
like you, I actually am old enough to have seen Star Wars in the theaters. I saw it originally. We were visiting the United States at the time in 1977, and I saw it both at the Coronet in San Francisco and at the Chinese in LA. So both the iconic theaters on the West Coast that were showing it blew me away. I mean, I was a Star Trek fan already, but this was just something that transported you at the time. This was just so different from everything else that you'd seen. So truly fell in love. It's one of those life-changing moments.
Inspired you to take on your
Well,
career?
not quite. Mostly in this, I was already very much involved in loving space, and that's the thing is I can never sort of separate my love of space and my love of science fiction. Is that did I love science fiction because I loved space? I mean, I loved Space 1999, Star Trek, and so on. Sort of these very early 70s shows and so on. And then, but I also remember going to a planetarium and one day when just bouncing off the walls after we came out, and that was a pure real science kind of presentation.
Yeah.
So it was just always connected for me, but Star Wars just stood out. There was something that as an 8-year-old sitting in the theater watching the Millennium Falcon jump to light speed was just amazing, and you were just there. And I didn't even speak English very much at the time, and I was like, it spoke to me. And this goes to what you were saying about what's not the written word and how Lucas presented it. It was something much broader.
Yes.
It was the experience of it. And then we'd moved to the United States by 1980, and so saw The Empire Strikes Back, blown away by it, even though it wasn't as upbeat and everything. And so, but leaves you with that huge cliffhanger. Spoiler alert!
Yeah.
He says Darth Vader is Luke's father, but is he? We for a while we actually questioned that. Was that a trick that he was trying to make?
Right.
Luke trying to join the dark side, and so Jedi was the reveal. Was this? And that's why there's this important question when Luke asks Yoda, and why there should have been more Yoda.
Yeah.
It's like, is Darth Vader my father? And you're waiting at pins and needles to see if there was he was tricking you, but no, it was, and so it.
And by the way, there is a really funny moment there with Yoda where he doesn't answer him at first, where he just says like, "I must rest," or whatever he says. And it's like, what are you talking about, man? This guy's asking you a really important question right now. You're just gonna brush it off like, "Well, talk about that
Let me close my eyes.
and die forever."
Yeah.
I just did Johnny Carson doing the Tea Time movie. No, the fork in the road.
But yeah, sorry.
So no, that's so when I first saw Jedi, and my mom allowed me to skip school to see it because she knew how important it was to me and my brother, and she actually came with us.
Oh, cool, mom.
Yeah. And so then we watched it, and the first time you saw it, it was an amazing capstone to the entire trilogy. But over the years, as you see it, it just doesn't hold up. Partly because it's just an ending. There's not as much character development.
Right.
The plot itself, it more or less goes exactly where you think it's going to go. There aren't that many more surprises. Whatever surprise there was, you already know now that Vader is Luke's father, and so on. So at the end of the day, I think it sort of dropped a little bit as time went on. But the spectacle of it is still amazing. Nowadays, with computer graphics, having 30 ships flying around, blowing each other up is nothing.
Yeah.
But at the time, again, it was just something we'd never seen before.
Yeah.
Even just in the trailer, I remember, I went to movies just to see the Return of the Jedi trailer before it came out because it was so amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm from New York, so I went to the World's Fair, right? So, you have your little dreams. I went in the Bell Telephone Pavilion and pretended I was in a tiny phone. Something like that.
Something like that.
No, but isn't it interesting, like, different children we were? Because, just to give you an example, the world. Well, I don't have one example. The worst movie, the scariest experience I ever had as a kid. I saw the movie about Helen Keller called The Miracle Worker. And my parents thought it was a Disney film, and because I wasn't, it was absolutely horrifying. I was like 5 years old, and I couldn't understand why is this person that they're beating her up and she can't talk. So, but it was like certain things when I first loved them. I can remember, and so I'm trying to think. I don't know if it was so much in the particulars of the fights and stuff like that, because that never really. For some reason, I'm trying to think. I always liked that as a kid, but it never really I didn't have that reaction to it.
Got you.
Although Jurassic Park I did, but it's the worst movie I think ever made.
Jurassic Park's the worst movie ever made?
It's a terrible movie.
Oh, okay. I like Jurassic Park.
You mean with the guy with the lawyers sitting in the bathroom?
Gets eaten.
I'm being hyperbolic. But it's like it's
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, Jedi though is Empire Strikes Back. I think over the years, I think has held up better. In terms of that, but I think Jedi is better than Star Wars, because in particular Star Wars still, just because of the technology, shows its age. Even with the special editions, they have real 70s haircuts, the guys. Princess Leia's is just a weird one, but if you have sort of the over the ear sort of floppy kind of, and there's aspects of it which are just almost making it but not quite there, but if you look at Empire Strikes Back and Jedi, you cannot place when they were made. That is, you can't. But if you look at like 1 million years BC with Raquel Welch, it was made in the 60s, because the makeup that they did and the giant. So there's something very. You see Cleopatra. You see sort of the movie making of the time is imprinted on it. But and Star Wars has some of that. But Empire and Jedi, they're removed from that. You can't really tell that this was. You can sort of look at some of the effects, but once they cleaned them up, that was about it. You can't tell. There's no signature of that. Blade Runner is the same as well. You can't say. Was that made in 1980, 1990, not 1970? It's because of the technology, but that's the thing.
It a bit.
So Star Wars still has some of that. So to me, I still enjoy Jedi. There's just particularly the final battle scene is amazing. Just on the Endor moon.
I mean, that's most of the film.
But I will once again say I cannot separate what I liked from my experiences of having waited 3 years to see that movie, to see the conclusion.
Very psyched up.
Were you disappointed then? Or
no. I was not disappointed. I was thrilled, but it was one of those things that I saw it many times and I enjoyed it every time. But over the years, you can gain some perspective. In some distance from it helps. But at the end of the day, those moments where you first experience those images, it's just in your brain linked in a way that you can't separate it. And it was such a pleasurable, wonderful experience for me. So I still enjoy seeing Return of the Jedi. And regardless of how we can sort of break down episodes 1, 2, and 3 that Lucas did later, I wasn't 14.
Right.
And
golden age. Yeah.
Well, that was the thing, is there's a writer, Harold Nelson, said the golden age of science fiction is when you're 12.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't have been masturbating. Good night, everybody. You are a wonderful crowd. Then the usher came over and said, "Sir, this is ridiculous."
I would say like The Matrix is kind of like that for me.
Please cut out everything I've said.
Oh, your mic's off.
Good.
It's just a two-way conversation. I feel like I don't know. I related to what you were saying because when I saw that, I had that feeling of like, I've never seen something like this before. This totally blows me away, and I can still watch it now and appreciate it. But I see how it aged also, and if things are kind of silly, or I look at the holes in it maybe. But with Return of the Jedi, obviously, it was still an old movie when I was little, and I still enjoyed it, but found it a lot less satisfying than the first two. I really liked the storytelling in the first two and the unpredictability, I guess, of just like you're not sure where this is going or what's going to happen. And this movie just seemed to be really spelled out from the get-go. It's just kind of like, this is what's going to happen, and then less
Job of the Hutt.
A lot of Job of the Hutt.
More going. Oh, my favorite part was the
Forest
ships.
Moon Endor?
No, the speeder bikes.
The speeder bikes. Holy moly!
Going through the forest.
Really
how
fun.
Did they make it that it was almost like being on the ride?
So I read they filmed it like with a camera that was going 1 frame per second, and they just like walked through and then sped it up, and it felt like
got
you're on
the
there.
guy who invented the Steadicam.
Whoa.
To modify it for their purposes for that, so that it could do 1 frame per second.
Damn.
And so he was the one who had the harness with the camera on, walking through these forests. So then, of course, when you play it at regular speed, it sped up enormously.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So great.
Yeah, that was a really
Made
fun
you really
sequence.
feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When was
But-
2001 made?
It's this year is the 50th anniversary, 1968.
Wow.
See, because I felt that one was more impressive to me in terms of like, this is a new world that's happening that I don't understand, and this guy's upside down, he's walking on top of the thing.
Yeah.
So that was, whereas I saw the Jedi more is more like a feel-good movie that I wasn't necessarily focusing that much on the special effects.
Yeah, I would say it's a lot less dramatic. I mean, I guess besides the Luke and Vader stuff.
That's the funny thing is, at the time, of course, it was very impactful with the big conflict, but watching it again just recently, that's the time when I still get much more emotionally involved with the movie, is the father and the son conflict, him protecting his sister, the
Right.
threat,
Yeah.
all of that speaks to me much more now than I think it did when I saw it in 1983. And I think there's a lot less of that. You're right. I mean, there's a lot more of it that seems to be preordained. And the Jabba the Hutt scenes, I remember when I first saw it, which it was fine, but I remember when, again, even at the time, like, these Jabba scenes, I wondered the third or fourth time I was seeing the movie, I'm like, this is not the part I came here to see this movie.
I know, it's
for.
crazy to me.
Yeah.
And I read that he wanted to do like the cantina scene over again with like better effects.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
kind of why they did that. What a silly idea, in my opinion. Why do the same thing
Yeah.
over again
But-
with different, I don't
What
know.
do you mean, the same Star Wars bar scene? Or?
Yeah.
Right, he
Yeah,
wanted
I
to like
see.
redo that.
He was very unhappy with the creatures in the bar scene. He wanted it to be truly alien. And
Right.
then
They use
what-
like stock masks. I
There's
read
some
for the
stock
first
masks, but also just the masks. The guy who was making the masks unfortunately got sick during that time, and so he couldn't finish the masks that they were, or finish
one.
them
Like
to
that
the level.
scene is great though.
Yeah.
Cantina scene. I really like.
Yeah.
And then this one, I don't know, it just felt weird or like forced, or I don't know what it was.
But that's the thing, is that the part of the problem, and of course, once you get some distance to it, is that Return of the Jedi is Star Wars done with better special. It's just the first special edition, effectively, because
Yes. Oh,
I
he was
see, yeah.
he has another Death Star that they got to go and blow up. He's got
Yes.
the creature scenes on Tatooine, and there's a lot of things that he repeated because he
You're
felt
right.
now he could do it right. But I think that really came at the cost of, as the dramatics, or the thing that made it work was the mythology. I mean, the Star
Yeah.
Wars and Empire had really played with the mythology. This played with the mythology some, but it just didn't have as much of it, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you like The Matrix, because it's so mythic. 2
Yeah,
and 3
yeah.
are not quite the same.
No.
But the first one, when I saw it, the funniest thing is I'm like, this is the Star Wars for kids today. I could tell just by seeing it. I wasn't having the same reaction, but I could somehow see it. I'm like, if I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, this would be like, oh my God.
yeah, definitely. So I want to quickly comment, because did you guys watch the one that I watched, which was like the remake edition or whatever, like from '97, I think?
No, I did the original theatrical version.
Oh.
Yeah. Is that what I was supposed to watch? The original?
It's
Doesn't matter.
fine either way, but
It's, of all the ones that have been changed, Jedi's changed the least, actually, comparatively
okay.
speaking.
I don't know how much the other ones were changed.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that the CGI that they put
Yeah.
into this movie looks so out of place.
Mm-hmm.
It looks, I don't know how you feel about it, but to me it was just like random creature that's CGI dancing and singing.
Yeah.
I thought I was watching it alone, but I was looking around thinking, well, am I nuts? What is happening here?
No, that's the largest amount that they added. And it's one of these things. Is like, really, this was the thing you thought the movie was missing?
Yeah.
This segment, which was sort of a nice sidebar during the movie, suddenly it's literally show-stopping. It stops the movie, and then you have this musical scene. You're like, okay.
Why do we care about this song? Why do
Yeah.
we care about this person dancing?
Yeah.
Well, let me say that when you see the things like I have a rudimentary understanding of everything, but when you see those scenes where, what am I looking at? And then you see that he's put real people in various parts of the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like you'll see real people walking around, so that makes you think, that's all real people there.
Right,
but then
right.
if you look closely again, it's like a paper mache. I don't know what it is. Really.
A puppet or some crap.
So I've seen the original version so many times, and I just was trying to remember which ones were the editions. So that's why I watched the special edition. But it was
Okay.
just a matter of trying to pinpoint what because I'd forgotten what
The other one was, and it was probably equally or more shocking to me, was that they put Anakin, Hayden Christensen, in the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Which to me was almost...
Oh, well, which one's Anakin
He's the
again?
one
Is
that-
he something where you spell it backwards? It sounds like a backwards name. Is it you
It's an
spell backwards
anagram?
and
Is that what
Satan
it
or
is?
something?
Yeah, he's Satan. No, he's... A lot of people might agree with that. No, he's the guy that plays... Darth Vader when he's young, Anakin.
I get it.
In the newer movies, in the newer
Gotcha.
3, and they CGI'd him, this current actor, into this 1983 film, and it just looks, I don't know, I completely was taken out of it in that moment.
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah.
it would have been a nice moment, because you have the ghosts there, or the spirit of Yoda and of Obi-Wan, and it's like, you know, they stay with him, and I love that. But to throw in Darth Vader as a young person, he's never met Darth Vader when he's young.
Right,
He
yeah.
doesn't even know what he looks like.
I agree.
couldn't stand it.
I started just can't stop thinking about Billy D. Williams. I've been thinking about him since last night. I'm thinking about what is the genesis of this character is. I can't even figure out. It was like it almost seems like they were making 50 or 60 movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's like so. I couldn't stop watching individual things because I know Billy D. Williams from other things.
Right.
So, and then I'm starting to think about, like, a lot of times I'm thinking about race when I see movies because I got in an argument many years ago with well, it doesn't matter, ex-girlfriend of mine when I saw Gone with the Wind at her house with her family, and I was like saying, I don't really like the characterizations of the black people in this movie, and they were arguing. They weren't really arguing, but they were saying, well, that was the way more things were back then, but that's not really the way they were. It's more like there's a political message in Gone with the Wind. And so like I noticed in this movie you'd see Billy D. Williams and you'd see somehow be another black guy. You know what I mean? I was conscious of seeing, and I was also conscious of, like, there's a guy who's flying with them, and they don't really develop his character much.
Right.
But he's like, to me, that really bothered me because it was like classic. Okay, and now we're going to add the other guy in,
Right,
who goes,
right.
I'm on her tail, Schmeckel. You know what I mean? I don't even know what. And also, I want to tell you, as a person who does not like these movies with the chases as much as everybody else, when one of the reasons why you don't like to watch all these chases, and because you really can't figure out, for someone like me, what's going on. I don't know what's going on.
Who's chasing whom?
Yeah.
Now,
it
is it
confusing.
impossible to really, because there's really no linear thing to it,
No,
right?
it's meant to be. It was trying to recreate World War II air battle movies, so that you're seeing this pilot and then that pilot, and then there's this guy shoots this guy down, and so some of it you're not meant to follow. Some of it is just
Right.
instantaneously cutting to this person who either gets blown up or blows up somebody.
Right, yeah. Supposed to be chaotic.
Yeah, see, there's no plot points there.
Yeah.
But in terms of Billy D. Williams, and Lucas specifically said he was criticized that there were no black actors in the original Star Wars, so he specifically said, I'm going to have one in the next one, because he felt, you know, that was not him, and that he needed to, you know, and Lando Calrissian is definitely one of the most popular characters to come out of that.
Yeah.
And there's not enough of him, I think, in Jedi. I mean, he was much more interesting and great in Empire Strikes Back.
Totally agree. I loved actually the interaction between him and Han Solo when they're like
the brief moment.
It's like a brief moment, but I was just thinking like, oh, these are two really charismatic guys in this universe.
Yeah.
Why not have them hang out more, go on a mission together, whatever the hell, and that's it. He just says like, you're crazy enough to do it.
Yeah.
See you later. We're gonna part ways.
Yeah.
But, you know, Harrison's character is so funny because I always think of things like from the comedy aspect, you know, like it's so interesting to see this movie without knowing some of the things I've heard of the later movies where there's like is there an insulting comedic character in the later movies that everyone...
Jar Jar Binks,
that's
yes.
right.
Yeah, that people, I mean, like sometimes says unbelievably horrible things. Right?
Yeah.
So I could see that you could see how RD-22 and 3CPO could go that way if they weren't great.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
So like I was like saying, so like, to me it's like I see this like George Lucas is almost, he's got this view of I'm going to be a Frank Capra, I'm going to make these great things.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of great things, but sometimes I think he's like a little confused.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Also, it's a time period where he felt he wanted to put a black person in the movie.
Right.
So to me, it's fascinating to see. You kind of know that when you're watching it, and then you just think about how hard it must have been on every level of this to be a black character in the movie, to be knowing that you weren't putting them in.
Right,
So
right.
it's-
But that's the thing is, I think what's funny is that this is the second movie that Billy Dee Williams is in, which he felt a lot less forced in. Again, just because they're sort of finishing things off from the second one.
Yeah.
The character is very organically there in the second Empire Strikes Back. So,
Yes.
but I think the main thing.
when did it come in?
So Empire Strikes Back was 1980, which is when Billy Dee Williams'
got it.
character Lionel Calrissian was introduced, and that was far better than it's a far more interesting character. He's got a lot more to do, but again, it's hard to sort of split the movies into three because they're supposed to be one story, and the middle part is all the character development and all the twists and whatever's.
Sure.
But still, I mean, watching the movie in and of it by itself does leave you a little bit like, oh,
Just feels thin.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to say that I read something here, I'm going to read it, about women in the movie. So there are several women among the rebel pilots seen during the briefing aboard Home 1 who never actually appear in the battle sequence, though at least 3 were known to have filmed cockpit scenes for the battle. When you see the cockpit scenes, it's all dudes. One of these actresses did survive into the final cut of the film. One of the A-Wing pilots is actually a woman redubbed by a male actor. It's unclear exactly why the women were cut, but it's been speculated that there were concerns that audiences would be made uncomfortable by the thought of women being killed during a battle sequence.
I had not heard that actually. Wow. I mean, I did know that there were women pilots that they talked about them, but I didn't know they'd actually filmed them because they're obviously in the briefing scene.
Right.
But yeah, I did not know that they were cut, and and I did know one was. I'm like, is that a guy or a girl? Because it doesn't sound like it, but it looks like it. And
There you go.
Well, it's also gratuitous. I felt like, I'm looking at Carrie Fisher, like, she's hot.
Yeah.
So like, and that's like, she's a little bit too hot. I mean, they're making
I
her
think
a
that was
little
her
bit-
call, though. I think in the
Oh,
other,
really?
I think in the other movies she was saying that she's just too.
Oh, I could see that where she's got the curly curl.
Well,
curls.
that's the funny thing because in the original, because science fiction of that sort of, this is not even science fiction, this is sort of fantasy kind of with space-based fantasy. That kind of movie, the reputation from all the way from the B movies to Barbarella was always to have the busty blonde or a bombshell kind of thing, and Lucas wanted to avoid that for the original Star Wars, so he had Carrie Fisher tape down her breasts.
Oh.
So that she would be less feminine for that too, so that it wouldn't fall into that.
Can't
kind of
we have a happy
characterization.
medium? No, I mean, I thought she looked great anyway, but I was conscious. Are they showing?
But in Jedi,
Yeah.
Lucas felt that he'd broken the mold and therefore could go for something like this. But then
Right.
again, it's become quite a bone of contention in terms of, on the one hand, it's objectification. On the other hand, she's the one who chokes Jabba with her bare
That's right. Yeah,
hands.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Which I read was a homage to The Godfather when they killed
the Luca Brasi, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, was that not supposed to turn me on that scene, or am I'm the bad guy?
People are into different stuff.
Yeah, right,
Whatever
exactly.
you want to do.
Just accept myself for who I am.
Yeah. Well, can't you do that? How long has it been? Just accept yourself for who you are, man.
It keeps changing.
Oh, well, that's going to be a problem. Yeah, Lucas was the assistant editor on The Godfather, which I didn't know.
Oh,
so that was
wow.
pretty cool.
But speaking, he and Francis Ford Coppola were friends from a long time ago,
Yeah.
and they still are. But the one thing talking about editors, and I think that's one of the critical things talking about all of the original Star Wars movies, is that Lucas. It's very hard to tell right now who was influential on him, but I think as he got bigger and bigger, he started listening less to others.
Oh yeah, you can tell
And
that.
therefore, I think there was less self-editing or editing in response to colleagues. I don't know for a fact, but I think to some extent you can sort of see that even more in the later episodes. But I think for the first two, he was still operating under, is this going to work? How are we going to do this and whatever?
Right.
But by Jedi, I think he was, he had the money, he had the independence, and, there's...
Just going to do it.
Yeah, and it's his vision, and he wanted his vision to be the one, which is, again, artistically,
Wasn't
that's what
there
you
like
want.
a little pack? I saw a thing of him and Ford Coppola and like Scorsese or something.
Yeah, no, there were a whole group of them with Spielberg as well, and John
Yeah.
Milius, and so
Lucas would like show them early.
they would all show each other the
cuts.
early
Yeah,
versions
they're
of
like,
them.
I
Yeah.
don't know about this,
Yeah.
man.
But I mean, and Lawrence Kasdan co-wrote the script for Empire Strikes Back.
Also, the Big Chill was the
Yeah.
director.
No, but Lucas, I think that's my sense. And again, this is one of these impressions that you have that you can never have any actual,
Right.
And even the artists themselves can't possibly say. I mean, this was closer to his vision than he'd been able to achieve previously with both Star Wars and Empire. But at the same time, I feel that talking about editing is that there was some level of sort of streamlining and redoing things, which happened a great deal on, I think, Star Wars and Empire, partly because of both the actual editors, one of whom was his wife, and his wife was also the editor on Jedi, Marsha Lucas.
Oh, okay.
So I have some trivia on the movie that I thought you
Is
might.
trivia involved with this movie? I find that very hard to believe. Like nerdy people would.
Yeah, just like some
what-
interesting
It's shocking, yes,
facts.
yeah.
How many fingers are on the glove of the schmuckle?
Yeah, of the Schmunkel, my favorite character. I thought you'd like this one. The Emperor's chair. I noticed that it was like it was moving, like it's mechanized to rotate, but it wasn't working properly, I guess, when they were filming it. So the actor had to shuffle his feet to move the chair, and his character is so evil and like all-knowing and confident and arrogant. And I thought that's probably so funny on set that he has to move his own chair.
This is off topic, but once I was, as you know, everyone knows I smoke pot. I'm smoking it now. But once I was in my friend's car, and he has a Cadillac, and we were smoking, I was getting really, really high, and I thought I was having a heart attack because he had heated seats. So I at first I couldn't talk. It's like, I'm going to have to say it, and then I just blurted out, "We got to go to the emergency room. My heart's on fire."
My heart's on fire, just slightly warm in your seat. That's great. So, Jabba the Hutt, your favorite character, Andy.
Who did the voice of Jabba the Hutt?
I don't know who did. Do you know who did
I
it?
don't know. I just know that there are 3 people who played the puppet.
I could have gotten more work back then if I could have done these. I always say I'm gonna cry.
I don't see why you
Why
can't
not?
get work right now.
Right. Well, there's other reasons.
Because he's speaking a different. So, I mean, technically it's Ben Burt because he put together the language because he only speaks this foreign of
Oh, the
Huttese.
sound guy.
So
yeah.
so Ben Burt, who did the languages that created all the languages, presumably it's I don't know if it's him personally, but he put all of that together.
How much
organized it.
language is there? Like a lot of language?
Not quite in the sense of creating a full-on
language,
language,
right, yeah.
but what he would do is mix other foreign languages together so that these new words you would be, and he did that starting from
like
the original,
believable.
from the very early, from Star Wars when the Jawas are talking, and then he would try and make a different one. He did one for the Ewoks and the Huttese and so on.
Right.
So I don't know if there was any individual speaker who.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I kept looking for the 3-dimensional chess.
Oh.
That's a different. Is that a Star Trek movie?
Yeah, that's a Star Trek reference.
okay.
Yes.
So Stuart Freeborn had a team that it took 3 months to build Jabba the Hutt. It cost $500,000 to make and weighed 2,000 pounds.
Oof.
Oh my God! So you're saying that it's for some reason I couldn't tell how large it was. It's really large.
It's very big.
Huge, yeah. And I think there was people in there too.
Yeah,
and
there's 3 people.
puppeteers.
Yeah, there's
Inside?
there's 3 people inside.
that
One
crazy?
right arm, one the other one. Moving the mouth, and then there's one. There's actually it was a dwarf who would do the tail,
Right,
and
right.
then there are people who with remote controls controlling the eyes and
So insane.
Yeah.
It reminds me. I did this thing for Disney, and this guy had created these puppets, and he said he has a Bachelor of Arts in puppetry. He goes to one of the few schools. I said that's pretty cool. He goes, "Is it?
News to me.
Is it really that cool?"
Is it pretty
Made
cool?
me laugh so hard.
Okay, so in Jabba's palace, the main chamber is connected to the entrance by a short flight of stairs. And when filming the scene, they realize R2-D2 enters the chamber and that he can't go downstairs. So I thought that
You
was
mean technically can't go downstairs?
right. Like they can't show him going downstairs because there's no way for him to go downstairs.
Oh, is that gonna the thing that's gonna make people write the letters?
Yeah, I guess
Finally.
so. So they had to move the camera. They show them coming in, and then they moved the camera to the left, past the stairs, and then they manually moved R2-D2 over the stairs.
Yeah. But here's the thing: is if you and this is you get it when you evidence of a misspent youth and watch the movie way too many times when they're entering from the main gate, as the whole thing comes up and R2's just rushing in and 3PO's coming. It's also stepped.
Oh,
Except they've put a little ramp of dirt in the middle
okay.
so that R2 can come down it and hit the big green guard and so on.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is Anthony Daniels, who's in the C-3PO suit, he also changes his direction to go down the ramp because it would have been easy, because it's hard for him to go downstairs. But so if you look at it, you can see there's this one little dirt ramp in the middle of this long, randomly placed one step, and the droid goes down it, and the other droid. So, which you can say, hey, droids needed to go down those steps, so they made the little ramp.
This is not really, I guess, trivia, but this is just kind of leads me to something interesting. So the Death Star 2, I guess that's what it's called, right? The power source is called a hypermatter reactor, which we don't have.
Never mentioned in the movie.
We never mentioned the movie, and we don't have that in reality. We have reactors. So that's the standard energy source for all spacecraft in the Star Wars universe. And I just saw a report in the last, I think it was like a week ago or something, that there's a Chinese fusion reactor that gets 6 times hotter than the sun. The team operating it, it's called it's called an Experimental Advanced Superconducting Tokamak.
Yeah.
You know about this?
Yeah, I just read the article about it.
Of course he knows. This is the kind of thing.
I'm just
this
making
is
sure.
where he goes, yes, I know about it. And when someone like me, I think it's fake news.
The Chinese? Yeah, right.
Yeah, Chinese, sure.
So this thing, I'll lead you into it because obviously I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But it's the reactor's internal plasma can reach 100 million degrees Celsius, which is 212 million Fahrenheit.
Okay, well that makes more sense.
That's hot, right? Which is 6 times hotter than the sun, and doesn't have any net power generation, and can hold it for 10 seconds.
Yeah, so I mean, this is the idea. I mean, what powers the sun? If we can replicate it here on Earth, all our energy problems are solved. Forget, all oil,
clean coal,
natural
your
clean
favorite
coal.
clean coal.
all of that is set aside, and it's been, people have been working on it a long time, and whoever makes the breakthrough, whoever owns that technology, or at least patents that technology, is going to be the most powerful group that there is in the future. And of course, Chinese have put a lot of money into it. The United States over the years has put a lot of money into it. So have the Europeans. Now the U.S. and the Europeans have just basically given up going it on their own. Now they have a joint effort between the U.S. and Europe to try and make fusion.
With China?
Yeah. And so, but the critical part of it is that it's not just how hot you can get it and whether you can get fusion going. That has all happened. The question is, can you do it in a sustainable fashion where you're getting more energy out than you're putting in? And that's the main thing.
Why is it difficult to sustain? Or is that going to be over my head?
Well, no. I mean, it's over my head. I mean, this is not the area that I'm an expert at, nor have studied. But fundamentally, the main things that I've read up over the years is that as you get things that hot, and the way you need to contain it becomes very unstable. That is, literally just becomes. It sloshes around too much to keep it in the state that you need it to stay to be generating the energy. So it generates the energy, more energy. Things want to go expand, and then so you want to push it back in. But then so it's this back and forth, what are called plasma instabilities and so on. Mm-hmm. And those are the things that have been very hard to.
Very amorphous, it sounds to me, if not mercurial. How am I doing? Anything?
You're doing great. You're doing great. Yeah, those are all words. They're all words. Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
Wow, this is amazing. So this does this mean like it will happen, or you just never know what form things will happen?
That's the thing, is that this is one of those areas where, I mean, literally, billions and billions have been spent for right now, essentially, in terms of energy out is almost zero results. But the point is, this is an on or off kind of thing. You're not going to get it. But if once this works, it changes everything.
Right.
And that's why people have been doing it. But on the other hand, on the one of the more cynical side of things, people have said, fusion power is a very, very promising technology. It keeps promising and promising and promising.
See, they need me to punch up their material.
Yeah.
Basically.
So yes, the physics jokes are.
Yeah.
You guys can get into it, I'm sure. Give a couple phone calls. Yeah. It's over.
I'll take a joke from another field and I'll apply it to physicists. What's the difference between a physicist walking across the road and a well, I can't think of what the thing. A toad hopping across the road. What's the difference?
Between a physicist hopping across the road and a toad hopping across the road.
Yeah. The toad might be on the way to a gig.
Oh.
Those are the jokes of what do you say when you kick a drummer out of a band.
Right, yeah.
I've got songs.
What is that, what you were describing before about it being, like, unstable?
Yeah.
Is that the problem with fission?
No, fission, we've worked out. Fission we've done for literally, it was done in the 30s. And so fission is when you break apart the atoms. Fusion is when you get the atoms to join together and release energy.
Oh, okay. I was under the impression for some reason that fission was like more difficult to execute and get energy from because it's I don't know.
It's more destructive, I think.
No. Fusion.
Come on, damn it.
Yeah.
At least say Andy's almost right.
Okay, and he's almost right.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
In the sense that fundamentally, if the most the first powerful bombs were atomic bomb was a fission bomb, and then that you can break apart uranium. That was the first one, and then you can break apart plutonium. You can get even more energy out of that. The critical thing was later that, and then you can actually have fusion bombs. And those are the most destructive bombs that we have. Whenever nowadays we're talking about nuclear weapons in terms of the United States or Russians or China and so on, those are fusion bombs.
We have them?
We have them, yes.
Okay, now, what'll happen?
So fusion bombs are just, it's a bomb that is just a huge explosion, lots of heat and energy is released. But the critical thing is that with a fusion bomb, even though it started off with a little fission bomb, it actually causes a lot more damage from a very small amount of your warhead is tiny. So you can launch something very tiny towards your enemy and then do massive destruction.
And they tested them?
Oh, yeah. This
underground and stuff?
Underground and overground. I think the Bikini Atoll one in the 50s was, a fusion bomb. So the fusion bombs have been around for a long time. But in terms of energy, fission, and when we talk about nuclear reactors on the Earth, that's what we're talking about. You take either usually uranium, as that atom falls apart, you take the heat, you boil water, you get the steam, you turn a turbine, you generate electricity. Fusion on the other, but the problem is that then you have all this radioactive waste that's you have to do something. Yeah, where do you put it? Fusion, on the other hand, doesn't have that problem. You can get hydrogen atoms, you get them to stick together, they release energy, it creates the heat, you boil water, steam turbine, etc. But at the end of the day, you're not left with this. What am I going to do with all this crap? Where am I going to store it, and so on and so forth? So again, it's a cleaner, huge amount of energy.
Got you.
But I will say this, and that is, we do have a fusion reactor. It's called the sun. So anytime you talk about solar energy, to some extent, we're doing that. We're using that fusion reactor and using the energy we're getting in the form of light here to convert it to electricity. But
hence the singularity. All right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Can't wait. So we have hovercrafts. There's hovercrafts in this movie. I mean, they're not called hovercrafts. I don't know what the hell they're called actually. They're just like these bikes. Floating bikes.
Yeah, I mean, they were called the speeder bikes as far as the name in the movie, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Speeder bikes. Have you guys seen what I'm talking about? These hovercrafts that are on the water that have like a very thin layer of air?
Oh, yeah.
No.
It just seems... I mean, maybe you know more about it than me, but I watched some videos this morning and it just seems very silly. It almost seems like a waste because it's basically on the water.
Yeah.
So why...
What's the point of it?
What's the point of it? It's kind of cool, but
well, no. Most of them are for military landings because then you don't have to switch from being a treaded or floating vehicle, to on land. So when you're deploying people very quickly off of little ships, hovercraft are actually so the Marines usually use them a lot.
Cool.
I landed on using a tailhook thing.
Whoa!
Yeah, I landed
on a carrier.
Yeah, because I was doing this wraparound show for TNT, and they tricked me into it. They said it'd be like landing on a lake, and it was not landing on the lake at all. I was sitting in a C-130 facing backwards, and you know who else was on the flight with me? Was Stephen Forbes.
Oh.
And that would have been the worst thing. I would have nobody would have heard nothing about me. Nothing. Stephen Forbes dead.
Always thinking about that when you're on a plane, right?
They use a Jew comedian to try to staunch his bleeding.
Okay. So the Death Star is a huge sphere. And
I couldn't figure out what that. It looks like a half of a planet. Is that what I'm looking at?
Right.
Well, that was the thing, is they hadn't finished building this one versus the first one we saw was completed, so it was a complete sphere.
Right.
This
but
one
it was going to be a sphere.
It was going to be a sphere
again, which is just way bigger, apparently. So I was just going to ask, from a spacecraft point of view, would we build something like that, and what would be the benefits to doing so?
Well, things in space become spherical because of self-gravity. Mm-hmm. So that is, if something isn't big enough, if you're an asteroid or a little comet, you're shaped like a potato, basically, or some random. But as you get bigger and bigger, then as you're pulling in every direction, more or less, you have enough pulling. Whatever you're made out of, you basically force it into a sphere. So that's why planets are spherical. Sorry, flat earthers. Every other planet isn't a sphere.
Oh my God! I was still holding out one hope, and my thing was like it was a David Copperfield type.
But In this case, that's literally the strangest thing to say that they would build it in a sphere because they have artificial gravity. So they can build it in any shape that they want and have people walking however they want on it. So the gravity of the thing actually may be something that they have to fight against because as they put all of that mass together, their structure, as you can see, it's like girders and so on.
Yeah.
It's not solid. So those girders have to be really tough to resist the self-gravity of all of that material they're putting together.
Yeah,
So,
I had a feeling it was like counterintuitive to build a huge spherical spaceship, but
I'm not sure if it's entirely counterintuitive, but I certainly didn't come up with something obvious. That is, you build it only to the level of what you need. That is,
Right.
it can be any shape. It doesn't have to be spherical.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things Star Wars did very well. Actually, it was more or less sort of pioneered originally by the Enterprise on Star Trek because it doesn't have a plane-like or a rocket-like shape. It was this weird disc and then these tubes and then
Yeah,
the
that is
Millennium
cool.
Falcon was this weird thing which has the cockpit only on one side and the X-Wing fighters sort of look like planes, but then some of the other spaceships don't look like anything.
Yeah.
But why does it have to be spherical? It's not really obvious to me why it had to be spherical. It just needed to be a giant gun that needed, and was firing on things, and then, cruise quarters.
Yeah, and it's also protected in this film by a shield from Endor's moon.
Yeah.
Shields and Yarnell.
Oh, wow.
He doesn't get that,
Nope,
right?
nope.
You got that?
Yes.
Holy Christ!
What is it? Now you gotta tell me.
It's like a musical group
Yeah,
or
way back
a
when.
magic group from the 70s. Shields and Yarnell.
See, it's people are learning from this podcast, but not just science.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're learning obscure references.
That's exactly right. And now
Yeah.
they can research. What the hell is Andy talking about? Why does he like that? Does he like that? What
My
does he
friend
know?
Philo T. Farnsworth said I really need to cut back on the references.
So, my question, I guess, there is, well, first of all, I thought it was funny that they don't say the name of the moon. They just say Endor's moon. Or
Well, no, they
Endor's
identify it as the
moon.
forest moon of Endor, indicating
Right.
that there's like the desert moon of Endor and the
Yeah.
mountainous moon of Endor.
So I thought that was a little bit strange because they kept kind of almost dancing around what the hell this place is called.
Yeah.
Because it looks like people live there and shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's a
It should have a name.
It's a place, so call it something. You call everything else some crazy name. Call it something. And then I was curious about just this shield that's being powered by this huge generator that's protecting this thing, and that if you think we could build something like that to protect the Earth, because very clearly we are destroying it, the ozone layer is being destroyed and such, and so I don't know. If
Well,
we
that's the
can
one thing.
fix it.
Well, one quick thing. We're actually doing better on the ozone layer.
Oh, yeah?
Where it's the CO2 that's really bad.
Filled up
great.
the-
Yeah.
We filled it in the.
Oh, so the ozone layer, we're good.
There's
Well,
no
we're
more
getting
ozone
better.
even.
No. We're getting most of it back. I mean, that's one of the biggest successes of international politics over the past 30 years.
Oh, great. So everybody take a second to enjoy that victory.
Yes.
And also the technology that produces not just a CPAP machine, but the ability to clean the CPAP machine.
I mean-
with ozone of some kind.
Yeah.
And I haven't been feeling good for a couple of weeks. Is that good?
That's good.
So, but yeah, I think the shield idea, starting from with Star Wars. Whenever we're debating, even in Star Trek, there's all these shields. It's always this,
Everything has a shield.
Everything has a shield, and it's
So I'm
amazing.
thinking we
couldn't
don't have a
do it?
shield. Why can we get a shield?
Well, the shields that they always talk about are some form of energy that's projected, and sometimes even called it's electromagnetic shield. It's like, it's like magnetism. I mean, if it's made out of metals, it'll attract it, or if you want to sort of deflect it, it becomes very difficult to deflect things. Although, if you are, you can actually see if you cool down things to very, very low temperatures, these things called superconductors, they actually have a magnetic field, and if you put it on a magnet, it doesn't actually go through, it floats. So there are ways of doing these things, but not in the classic science fiction sense of protecting
Well, the
yourself.
theremin, if you use a theremin and you combine it with crazy music, then you're like, well, it is crazy music. Sorry, doubled it. Then you could probably do a force field type thing.
Yeah, I think it would be ideal, but no one I know of has ever come up with any way of actually creating the equivalent of that kind of an electromagnetic or a force field that's projected that protects you because things can't get through it.
Got you. Okay. Well, that sucks.
Yeah,
I was hoping we got some cool shields coming up from
not
JPL.
Quite, yeah. Well, the shields that we have are actually just things. We still are working on them, but just was it last month? I think there was a test of an anti-ballistic missile. So that is it's like shooting a bullet with another bullet. We can do that.
Okay, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
The Scud missile. Would you miss the whole Scud missiles?
Yeah,
It was
that was-
unbelievable. No one would ever get
He was
hurt again.
2, I think.
I missed it.
They showed you exactly. It goes down the thing. Boom. Everybody go home.
That sounds dangerous, actually.
Yes.
It sounds actually
But yeah,
terrible.
so it's still not the most efficient way, but that's the best way we can do it. Is you have whatever's coming at you, you hit it before it hits
with
you.
the same thing.
Yeah.
The lightsabers in these movies, they, from what I understand, it's like just a really hot laser of some sort that would like cut right through stuff, and then every now and then it does that. It will cut through Darth Vader's hand and so on. But there's so many times in this movie where somebody's hit with a lightsaber and they just get knocked over.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh man, like it's a bat. So I thought that was like really, I don't know. I just hated it, I guess.
Well, the power of the lightsaber has, always fluctuated in many ways. I mean, Vader gets, tapped on the shoulder a little bit and gets this little thing, but then he can throw his lightsaber and bring down an entire bridge made out of metal.
Goes right through the metal.
Yeah, just like it's nothing.
Yeah.
And so
I just wanted a little bit more consistency there because it happened a lot towards the beginning of the film. Like as soon as Luke gets free and starts, they have that little battle sequence with that weird creature that's eating people in the sand.
I don't need to see that guy again.
They
far.
just during that battle,
Trigger warning, please.
So you don't like plants that eat people. You're not about that.
I still like it better than torture. Torture is I can't watch the movie Reservoir Dogs. I can't watch any movie. If you tell me there's going to be torture in it,
you're out.
That's it.
What else is on that list? Like, do you not like horror movies? Do you like horror movies?
I do, but not that much. I do kind of want to be scared, but I don't want anything too graphic. See, I listen to true crime stuff. I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah, I like that too.
Because I have OCD and ADHD, so I'm shopping, and or as I say in my act, it's like I will watch a Dateline where a woman drowns her whole family just to take the edge off of Trump. You know what I mean? Just to. You can't go. Don't go too literally into the joke.
I guess I'm kind of the same way. I like the suspenseful stuff.
Yeah,
I like when it's like more of a
stuff.
thriller, but if it's like too gory, I'm not.
there was this whole genre which has been dubbed torture porn, and basically of the horror movies. I can't stand those.
Yeah.
But I will say, I mean, Alien, even though it has a very gory scene in 1979's Alien, my God, that's a horror movie that I will watch.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
scared to have seen that movie.
Yeah,
I should see it then, right?
There is one very graphic scene, but other than that, most of it just implied, it's
suspenseful.
Scary, it's suspenseful.
I agree. It's a fantastic horror film.
Yeah.
I love Alien.
Yeah, and
love.
The sequel, actually, strangely enough, to change genres, the sequel is actually much more of an action movie.
Yes.
But the original Alien is almost gothic horror because they're trapped. It's dark.
It's cool.
Yeah,
and the acting is great, and I don't know, it's a good one. And there's a podcast episode about it. I believe it's number 3 or so. So check that out if you haven't. The forest vehicles also reminded me about these scooters that are everywhere, and so
those bird things?
Yeah, exactly.
Those things are going to be the death of us. I swear
I
to
wanted
God,
your
they
take on it.
multiply. They multiply. How do they multiply on their own like that?
They're mating.
Yeah.
You know how they work?
Well, they've been released into the wild, and nobody knows once that happens.
It's a buck. It's a buck. First, it's a buck. They say.
Yeah, they say.
But then you're going to be on that. It's like, how is everyone not going to die?
I don't know. But they're everywhere, especially here in this
Santa
area.
Monica, too.
Yeah, it's
The west side. I mean, our side of town hasn't quite gotten them yet, but I'm very curious to see what happens when they do come. Yeah.
And that brought me to wonder about future transportation. So I'd like to play a game here, which I'm calling Hope You Can Endure This Game.
I hope you can endure this game.
Just as a guess, before we even play the game, like, how do you guys see the future of transportation? Because clearly cars are very stupid and they run on gas for the most part, and there's a million of them I mean, I say 1 million as if it's a big number, but it's way more than that. So, I mean, do you think we're going to be using cars for the next 10, 50 years? Are we going to change to something else? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'll go first because there's no information coming from me.
Great.
I think it'll be more like driverless cars and some variation of that. Good night, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Well, no, I agree. Actually, that's at the end of the day, we've set up our towns and cities in such a way to be served by cars primarily. I mean, there's a few cities, New York and Boston and so on, but most cities are not really designed, and particularly in the United States, post World War II expansion was such that they were made possible by the automobile. So you're going to have to be doing something along those lines. But the fact that everybody individually drives themselves and you're subject to all of the foibles of human errors and so on and so forth, I think that I'm amazed that I'm even talking about this, because to me this would have sounded like 100 years from now. But my daughter is about to turn 6. I don't know if I'm going to have to teach her how to drive.
Wow.
And that is within 10 years, we may have it to the point
I don't know about that.
I don't know about it, but I'm saying that's
possible.
that's what I mean, is that it's getting to the point of like, do I have that same experience that my parents had, going in an empty parking lot and being very nervous when I was driving and they were like, no.
That was really fun though.
Yeah.
I really like that experience.
I hated it because I have OCD really badly, and it took me 3 times to pass the driver's test, because on the second driver's test, the driver guy said, "Watch out, you're going to hit that car." So I didn't pass the second one, but I did pass the third one. But in my 20s, and this is something for mental health, I didn't know what OCD was. This was back in the 70s, and I don't know how many people. I used to think I hit somebody. I hit something in my car, and I would convince myself it could have been a person. So I would be, if you had told me at age 6 that one day I wouldn't have to drive, I would have been so thrilled to get that one OCD thing off of me.
Yeah, I hope that that's the case. I think that would be great. I know that there's certain driverless cars now, but that some tests are not great or
you
whatever.
You mean like Jay Leno at a corporate gig?
There he is. So, and I think we just need better public transportation. I think we need more massive, I don't know if they're on magnets or whatever in the future, but just places where I can go from, the east side of LA to the west side of LA underground or whatever the hell it is.
Well, I think that's going to happen in some fashion. Either, that's the flying car one, which were promised already. I'm waiting for my flying car. It's 2018. We were supposed to be. But I think if there's some version of that, but those versions would also have to be self-driving. That is, we're not going to have pilots, everybody be a pilot and driving their own little pod from here to East LA. So
that leads me here perfectly, because these future vehicles, most of them, you need a pilot's license. But these are prototypes, or I think some of them you can get currently or in the next few months. And some of them I made up. So I'm going to tell you the name and you tell me if it's legit or if it's not. Okay? So the name of the first one is the Velocopter. Velocopter. Real? Not real.
Not real.
I'll go real.
It is real, and it looks like a big drone, basically.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if it's a person or two, and they're doing testing on it. The next one is called Flying V.
Well, it's a guitar.
That's true.
It's fake.
I'll go fake.
It is fake, but I was taking it more from the Mighty Ducks.
All right.
Hockey movie. Yeah. Okay, Lilium.
I'll go real on this one.
I take it with Valium. Very good. I'll
very
go real
good.
too. I'll copy the real.
It is real. This is the world's first electric vertical takeoff and landing jet, and I think they are for sale.
Whoa, okay.
If I'm not mistaken. So you can get that, but you do need a pilot's license.
Can I ask a question off that? Why are these helicopters always coming down? Why is it just the Black Hawks, and why do they always crash? Is it just helicopters dangerous inherently?
Partly, but I think the military just flies them so often. That is, but again, even if you look at their track record, they're really, really safe compared to the number of hours of flying that they do and so on and so forth.
Gotcha.
So, and I think in general, whenever they've, of course, it's also big news. That is, we don't hear about an individual auto crash for us.
Yeah.
Of course. The FL-0 Rider.
Yes, I have one.
I don't know. I'm going to say no.
It is fake, Varujan. I just thought it sounded like Flow Rider, which is the name of a rapper, and my home state of Florida.
Oh.
So got
Flow, Rye, Duh.
Duh.
Take it away.
The PAL V personal flying car.
I say yes.
Yeah, I'm going to go yes on that.
Yes, that is correct. And this one looks like it's like a three-wheeler, like 2 wheels in the back, 1 in the front.
Oh, okay.
So, and it does drive around, but then it becomes like a helicopter.
Okay.
So I think they will be available soon, which all of that frightens me.
Yeah. If you just look at the sky at night, just easier to do. I mean, the number of flying airplanes, just commercial, just personal private planes in LA is huge. And I have friends who fly, and they always talk about how difficult it is to fly in LA because there's so many people. Having these guys going in the middle of all of that is going to be crazy.
And Harrison Ford.
Oh, and Harrison
Ford crashing into stuff on top of it. Last one, the E-Hang 184.
Yeah, that's definitely. I have the prototype.
Wow. Connected.
Yeah, I'm going to go no on that one.
Andy's right. And for this one, I think it's the only one where you don't need a pilot's license.
Whoa.
And it looks like a car that is also a drone.
Okay.
So it has like little, propellers.
Wow.
So you can look forward to that, guys. Maybe your daughter getting one of those.
Yeah. Oh, well, then she's on her own learning how to fly that one.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to teach her that. Okay, so I had some more points about the movie. Mm-hmm. So Leia is the only other Jedi besides Luke.
Well, not quite a Jedi, but certainly has Force abilities.
The ability to be a Jedi, right?
What is it? What is a Jedi exactly for the layperson like me?
The idea is somebody who is trained well enough to use the Force to great effect.
Oh, okay. Jedi.
Okay. So my question there is that Luke learned this fairly early on in the movie.
Yeah.
Doesn't really tell Leia about it till later on. And then even after he tells her, doesn't do anything about it. Doesn't train her at all. Wouldn't it be helpful to Leia and the people around her if he gave her some Jedi training and said, like, you have the ability to do this. You can manipulate people's minds. You can maybe move something with your mind. You can fight at a very, extreme level. But instead, he just, doesn't tell her, then lets her know, and then just says, well, good luck. Good luck in this battle.
Well, the thing is, it's a little bit worse than that. It's that he tells her, and he says, if I don't come back, you're the only hope for the Alliance.
Yeah. Who's going to train her? Who's going to train her? Schmuck.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
I thought that was so ridiculous.
I like when things bother people in these movies. And you're trying to tell me that's a phaser? That's going to...
That's the line. Yes, it is. Damn it.
Come on.
I hold it like an improv phaser phone.
Improv phaser phone. Okay, so wait. This is the movie where he says it's a trap. I think I just have to say that because the internet is obsessed with that
Well,
scene.
not just that. Because I watched the trailer so many times.
Yeah.
Those are the only words spoken in the original trailer.
What? Everything else is
just action, and there's a voiceover that says, return to a galaxy far away, blah, blah. So the voiceover is good, but the only dialogue from the movie in the trailer is, it's a trap.
Wow.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. Yeah. I didn't realize that. And originally it's a trick. And it didn't.
Oh, it didn't fly.
Didn't test well at something,
okay.
and so they changed it. It's a trap, which is friggin' great. Okay, so anything to plug? Varujan, you have...
there's several missions coming up. So it's very soon to when we're taping. I don't know when this will be out, but November 26th, 2018, InSight Lander will be the next mission to Mars. Landing on Mars will deploy a seismometer to look for Mars quakes, which tells you about the interior of Mars. Really important because Mars used to be like Earth, and it's not like us now. And it looks like it has something to do with why it lost its magnetic field. It has to do with how molten the interior is. So it's really an interesting mission. That's very soon. Then right after that, there's OSIRIS-REx, which will go into an orbit around an asteroid called Bennu, and eventually will return a sample from Bennu to Earth. And then finally, there's the New Horizons missions, which New Horizons mission, which went to Pluto and got us those beautiful images of Pluto. Well, it passed by that. Now it's been targeted at a smaller icy body even further than Pluto, and that will be at the beginning of January. So look forward to those things. It's like one after another. Lots of space stuff coming at you.
Nice.
Lots
Cool.
of real space stuff.
Okay, great.
Oh my God! What could I say now that would be mean anything?
You haven't sent
my
anything
perpetual.
to space?
Yes, so far my perpetual motion machine is almost done.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's incredible. You ever see those things? You like there's like a marbles and you.
Oh, yeah.
And it never stops. Eventually, it does. I found out.
Oh.
It does. I have
while.
a podcast called Thought Spiral, which is me and J. Elvis Weinstein, and he's a comedian. And it's just we have no guests, we have nothing. It's just 2 Jews, 2 hours, 2 microphones.
Nice.
And we try to figure out things and complain.
Great. Thought Spiral.
Thought Spiral.
Okay. Anything else people should look out for?
I don't know when this is coming out, but I'll be at Union Hall in New York City the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Okay. I'm not sure when it's coming out either. I got to be honest with you, but if it's after that, I'll cut that out.
And if not, I think I'll survive it. I go, did they ever get that plug in? This was a lot of fun. This is really fun.
Oh, again, had a lot of fun.
is
Thanks
great.
so much.
Had a great time as well. Hopefully we can get together again soon. Maybe do another Star Wars or a Star Trek if you're into that.
Happy to do it, absolutely.
Or Galaxy Quest.
Or Galaxy
Ooh.
Quest. That's a good one.
That's a great one.
Thank you very much, both of
Thank
you, for
you,
being
guys.
here.
Thanks for having me.
Had a great time. We'll see you next time.
Yep. So long.
Bye.
You've been listening to Bad Science with Ethan Berg.
If you don't forget to get a Burrell's transcript, send $6.99 to Burrell's transcript.
Beep, beep, back, 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 back.
Bad Science is hosted and produced by me, Ethan Edinburgh. Our social media producers are Kate Baker and Edward Gullett. And the producer executive is Brett Kushner. Sorry for my half-assed Yoda. I'm only doing one take of it. Anyways, follow us on Instagram at Bad Science Show, or you can email us badscience@seeker.com. That's badscience@seeker.com. I love getting the emails from you guys. It means a lot to hear how much you're enjoying the show and to get your movie recommendations. I try to write back to everybody, so if I haven't written back to you, I will do so very shortly. If you want to help the podcast, you can rate and review. That is always great, but I personally prefer if you just tell a friend about the podcast. Give them a fact that you learned and let them know that you're not going to be friends with them anymore unless they start listening to the podcast. I think that's totally fine. Threats make friends. I always say that. Okay, hope you have a fantastic Thanksgiving. Be grateful for what you got, and I'll see you next week where the episode will be Free Willy. I know I said that last time and it was a lie because of this special 30th episode Star Wars Andy Kindler, but next week is actually Free Willy. So tell your pet killer whale to get excited. See you then. Bye.